Person-centered care. What does it really mean? Hello, and welcome to Collins Learning Online Education. My name is Dr. Jim Collins, and I will be your host as we discuss another important topic in healthcare today. Our topic this hour, person-centered care. There is a revolution happening in hospitals, nursing homes, assisted living facilities, group homes, and other living settings, and it is called person-centered care. You may have heard of it called something else, like resident-centered care or patient-first care and so on, but they all philosophically mean the same thing. Person-centered care is not a new concept. To the contrary, the idea has been around for decades. It has only been within the past few decades that we've used the term in hospitals or long-term care facilities. The work of the psychologist Carl Rogers and his brand of client-centered counseling actually started the revolution, focusing on individual needs, authentic human contact, and effective communication is important to understand. Later, Dr. Thomas Kitwood, the founder of the Bradford Dementia Group in England, started using the term to refer to dementia care in long-term care settings. From there, well, the rest is history. This is a fun topic for me, and I hope you not only learn something, but enjoy the topic as much as I do. So let's get started.
Person-centered care. What does it really mean? Learning objective number 1. We are going to take some time and describe the key concepts that are involved in person-centered care. And all of the concepts that we cover are important for the learner to understand and become aware of, because there's a particular lingo or language that is used in the literature concerning person-centered care. There are numerous key concepts to look at and explore, and I believe that I have provided the most important ones for our short program together. We will explore the following: a brief history behind the movement, various definitions of person-centered care, some components of person-centered care. We will also explore the idea of culture change. We will look at the definition of total institutions, explore the importance of choice, flexibility, and social life. We will also look at the use of neighborhoods, particularly in long-term care, the importance of consistency, individualized living spaces, the importance of food and the dining experience. We will explore quality of life, the importance of the idea of home, family-centered care, and the importance of leadership. Let's start with a brief history behind the movement of person-centered care. And I've got to start by saying this: person-centered care is really not all that new. The concept of person-centered care has been around for a while, and it's been applied to different areas in science, in research, academia, psychology, psychiatry, and now residential living for seniors. Carl Rogers in the 1960s began what was considered person-centered or client-centered approaches to therapy and counseling. Some of the important concepts for Carl Rogers included understanding unique personalities and the idea of genuine relationships between people. In the 1960s, a sociologist by the name of Erving Goffman wrote an incredibly important book called Asylums. And in this book, Erving Goffman pretended to be an activity director in a psychiatric hospital in Washington, D.C. What he was really doing was conducting undercover research, and he was exploring the social life of people who were living in a psychiatric hospital. He considered life in a psychiatric hospital to be characterized by total institutions. And I might as well define what total institutions means right now because this is an important concept. A total institution is a place where people are employed to provide monitoring over other people who live there in a residential setting of some kind, either a psychiatric unit or, say, a nursing home. Total institutions have rules and policies, house rules. You cannot come and go as easily as you should be able to. And there are situations where people are treated in blocks instead of individuals. For instance, when it's breakfast time, everybody must go to breakfast. That is treating people in blocks instead of just treating people as individuals. Now we're moving into the 1980s and the 1990s, and one of the most important figures of these two decades is Dr. Thomas Kitwood. Dr. Thomas Kitwood wrote an extremely important book on person-centered care, and in it, he defines personhood. He believes that personhood is the core of our identity as a human being. Regardless of if we have dementia, Alzheimer's disease, or any other condition, we are to preserve personhood at all costs. He believed that positive person work is important in especially residential settings like long-term care facilities. Positive person work means that we look beyond our routines, we look beyond our schedules, and we provide tender, loving care, very personalized care, and in a home-like environment for the people that we're taking care of. Dr. Thomas Kitwood also believed in cultural transformation. What he was essentially saying was, even back in the 80s and 90s, long-term care facilities were far too institutionalized. They were like living in a hospital. Too many rules, too many routines, inflexibility of care, too many schedules to live by. It just wasn't and isn't natural living. So he believed that we required culture change during the 80s and 90s. And cultural transformation then began to trickle in to the literature. In the 1990s, Dr. William Thomas provided great work on a concept known as the Eden Alternative. Now, I have a funny story to tell you about the Eden Alternative. I visit lots of nursing homes, hospitals, group homes, assisted living facilities in multiple states around the country. And when I go to a new facility, I ask, what makes you different? What makes you unique? Describe your quality of care here. And sometimes the administrator, the DON, or whoever's giving me the tour of the building will say, we're awfully proud to tell you that we have the Eden Alternative. We use the Eden Alternative in our building. And I'll say, really? Well, tell me what you're doing. And they'll say, look, we have a facility dog, and we have a facility cat. And look over here, we have a fish tank, and by the way, all of our plants are grown in organic dirt that you could actually eat. We have the Eden Alternative. At that point, I'm very disappointed, obviously, because that's not the Eden Alternative. What that means is they have a dog and a cat and a fish bowl and dirt that you could eat. The Eden Alternative is a philosophy. And the philosophy is this: wherever there is life, there is potential for growth. That's the Eden Alternative. And wherever there is life, regardless of diagnosis, Alzheimer's disease, bipolar depression, other physical illnesses, it doesn't matter. Wherever there is human life, professional caregivers should do everything that they possibly can to promote growth. Spiritual growth, emotional growth, psychological growth, and so on. That's the Eden Alternative. The Eden Alternative is one pathway to culture change. Person-centered care is similar to the Eden Alternative, but it encompasses a lot more ideas, many more ideas than the Eden Alternative does, in my opinion. And person-centered care is yet another path towards cultural transformation. Dawn Brooker wrote a very important book on person-centered dementia care, where she outlines her ideas which can be considered person-centered care. She focuses on individuals who have dementia and Alzheimer's disease and individuals who live on Alzheimer's or dementia units, but her concepts can also be applied to anyone living in long-term care. Beth Baker wrote a very good book on transforming nursing homes and is an advocate for person-centered care. And two other authors, Steve Shields and Laverne Norton, wrote a great book. Their main message, culture change, is needed now in long-term care. Let's take a look at some definitions. Person-centered care is a change from institutional living to social living, moving away from a hospitalized, routinized, inflexible environment to one that looks and feels like home. Person-centered care focuses on unique individual needs. And it is not a model. It's not a cookie-cutter type of program that you purchase or you learn about and then you implement. Person-centered care is a process, and it never, ever ends. Person-centered care is also a philosophy. It's a philosophy meaning that the person is in the center of the care process, not the healthcare professional's schedule, not their tasks, not the med pass, not the wound care, not the activity or the bingo that's going on, but the person is the most important thing within that care process. The person comes first, everything else is secondary. Many values are exemplified in person-centered care. For instance, simply valuing what the patient or the resident values, valuing who they are, valuing the person that they used to be, their careers, the jobs that they have held, their status as a mother, a father, grandmother, grandfather. You know, we work with so many people in healthcare that have phenomenal histories, personal histories. We work with a lot of World War II vets, Vietnam vets, who have seen things that you and I will never see. We work with people who are now retired, but they once used to be physicians, nurses, small business owners, politicians, firefighters, police. And these people all have such a unique personality, so many stories to tell. So values are a huge part of person-centered care. And the concept of choice is very, very important. People should be able to choose what they want to eat, what they want to wear, what kinds of activities they want to engage in, and so on and so forth. Here are some components of person-centered care that I have written about in my book. Number one, attitudes are very important. Second, food and dining. Third, purposeful activities. Fourth, direct care changes. And we'll get into each and every one of these. I just want to outline and list them for you now. Number 5, environmental modifications. 6, dementia care. 7, deals with the community. And number 8 is the importance of leadership. Let's get a good running definition of culture change. Let's wrap our heads around this concept. This means moving away from the institutionalized features of a living environment and moving towards a more social, emotional, and spiritual place where people love to live and where employees love to work. That's culture change. I've briefly talked about total institutions, but I want you to critically think about this question. If nursing homes are total institutions, if group homes, hospitals, and other residential care settings are really total institutions, then what's wrong with them? Are they inflexible? Do we wake people up to give them sleeping pills? Do we wake people up to give them medication when they don't want to wake up and they're grumpy when we wake them up and then we define them as a behavior problem? Do we provide meals when people don't necessarily feel like eating? Who wants to live by a schedule for the rest of their lives in long-term care? So the question is, what is wrong with the current culture of long-term care? You could easily ask yourself, what's wrong with the current culture of hospitals, of group homes, and other senior residential living places? We've talked about choice briefly, and I'd like to get a little deeper into this. What I mean by choice is individual preferences. People like things that they like, and they don't like things that they don't like. You know, people have preferences concerning spirituality and religious activities, food, sports, music styles and tastes, clothing, so on and so forth, how we express ourselves. So individual preferences are very important. We all have different desires and needs. Some people really have the need to fit in. Some people have the need to feel loved. Some people have the need just to feel safe. So we all have different needs and different desires. Choice, when it comes to what time we want to wake up in the morning and what time we want to go to bed at night, this is a no-brainer to me. I don't know why we continue to wake people up. And what is really disturbing, I think, is when seniors and people living in long-term care are awakened on third shift because they're total care or because they're heavy care. And the staff sometimes, I think, out of convenience, wants to get them up very early. But what happens? They have 2 hours to go before breakfast. They fall asleep. They have behavioral problems. They're drowsy. By the time they go to breakfast, they're no longer hungry. They start their day off the wrong way. Choice also involves food and dining. There are very, very exciting things that are going on in person-centered care in nursing homes. For instance, using buffets as a dining experience, using restaurant-style dining with menus on the tables, real glassware, real dishes, real silverware, a wait staff in the dining room. Really, really fun changes that are taking place. The living space is important. What I mean by this is, private rooms are definitely more attractive than sharing a room with someone that you don't know. And personalizing your living space. Sometimes when I go to facilities, every room is painted the same color, beige. Well, I'm sorry, that doesn't allow expression of people's needs. If they want to paint those walls lavender or powder blue or mint green or sunshine yellow, whatever the case is, I think that they should be allowed to do that. When it comes to activities, you know what? I don't like bingo, and if God forbid if I end up in a long-term care facility, because I will not be going to bingo. Not everybody likes every activity, and sometimes the activity director feels bad because people are not attending. That should be a clue. Providing a variety of resident-directed activities, getting their input. And I know sometimes getting input from people's difficult, because here's a very important takeaway from this discussion. The longer a person lives in an institutionalized setting, they become more and more institutionalized. The more and the longer you and I work in an institutional setting, guess what happens? You and I, as healthcare professionals, become more institutionalized ourselves in the way we think. Well, this is the way we've always done it. Why change it now? If it's not fixed, if it's not broken, don't fix it. That type of thinking. And we tend to get into our own routines. That could be good and that could be bad. You have to take a look at it for yourself. And another choice is the choice of spiritual activities and religious activities. All of these are equally important. Flexibility is a key word in person-centered care. What it literally means is flexibility in care schedules. This will include nursing more because nursing and nursing assistants provide nursing care, and they provide care with a care schedule. What does this mean? Wake-up times, med pass times, treatment times, and it could also mean more flexibility in the therapy schedule for PT and OT and speech. Dining times can be more flexible. I'm working with facilities and helping them to become more person-centered by expanding meal times. Say breakfast can be anywhere from 7:30 to 9:30. That's more flexible. Lunch can be served between 11:30 to 1:30. That's more flexible. And dining can be served between, say, 4:30 to 6:30. So dining times can be changed. The times of med pass can be changed, creating a more natural flow of life instead of an institutionalized form of living is what we're calling for here, and creating more of a casual, relaxed, warm environment versus an institutionalized environment. Social life is a very important concept, and what we're talking about is developing lasting and genuine relationships, meaningful encounters with others in a living environment. This next concept is incredibly important: purpose. One of the reasons I think depression is so high in long-term care is because people may lose their purpose for living. If you and I don't have something to wake up for and look forward to every day, we might lose our purpose. Going to work, being creative, taking care of other people, earning a living, fulfilling our wishes and our desires and our life goals. These all provide purpose, having great spirituality. If we cannot maintain our purpose in long-term living, or while we are hospitalized for long periods of time, or in a rehab setting, we may become depressed, and purpose is a huge part of social living. And the whole idea of just regular, warm, genuine human contact is very important in person-centered care. Neighborhoods. Something that's been going on for the past few years is breaking down long institutionalized hallways in long-term care facilities and turning them into smaller sets of neighborhoods. These are individualized living spaces, and they're shared not by 20 people, but just by a few people. So a long hallway in a long-term care facility that generally would house about 20 residents can be broken down into 4 different neighborhoods or 3 different neighborhoods. Each neighborhood can be decorated any way that the residents or the patients, the clients want to decorate it. They could hold their own celebrations, their own parties. They could eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner when they want to, and it's highly encouraged that employees sit down and have breakfast, lunch, and dinner with the people that they take care of. A neighborhood is really a smaller living environment. Bigger is not better in institutionalized care. In newer designs of long-term care facilities, we are seeing the big dining rooms disappearing, and we're seeing 4, 5, or 6 smaller dining rooms being spread out throughout the facility. So we want smaller living environments where people can cozy up and enjoy each other, and the environment's warmer and more satisfying. Large environments, people tend to get lost. Think about residents with Alzheimer's disease or dementia. They actually can become more confused in a very large environment. The noises and the audio qualities, the acoustics, for instance, of a huge dining room is very, very noisy. The use of bright lighting and whatnot can also cause confusion and agitation. So you could look at it that way and then examine a small living environment with toned down lighting, natural lighting, lots of overstuffed couches and chairs, a plasma screen television, and what you have is a very comfortable home-like atmosphere. This word is incredibly important when it comes to person-centered care. Consistency. What does that mean? It means consistent staffing. You cannot deliver person-centered care by having a bunch of employees who float around from unit to unit, wing to wing, and really never forming long-lasting relationships with the people that they're taking care of. It's just not possible. Plus, individuals who live in care settings want to see familiar faces every day. It can be very agitating, frustrating, or frightening to see new people every day, every other week. Think of the demented mind and the experience of seeing new faces all the time. Developing relationships. How can you possibly develop a relationship if you're floating around the building and never spending good quality time on a consistent basis with your residents? And last but not least, comfort. There's a lot of comfort in consistency. If I'm your caregiver and you know me and you know I'm going to take good care of you and I'm going to give you hugs and I love what I do and I love my job and I love the people that I take care of, you as a care recipient, as a nursing home resident, as a patient or a client, you're going to feel more comfort at the end of the day. Individualized living spaces. What this literally means is using private rooms and building new structures with all private rooms. Individualized rooms to express one's unique preferences and personalities. People who move in should be able to bring some of their own furniture, some of their own antiques. If you're like me, you like food, and you love good dining. Well, just because I get older doesn't mean that I'm not going to still love food and I'm still not going to love dining. Chances are I will. Everyone likes food. Food can always be improved. The way food is presented, prepared, and delivered can always be improved. It's one of the most exciting things that can be changed in long-term care. If I were a registered dietitian or a chef or a sous chef in long-term care right now, the sky's the limit on what you can deliver. Restaurant-style dining, fast food dining, buffet-style dining. All of these are, 24-hour room service. All of these are so exciting. Some of the important things about food and dining to remember: don't order what you want to order as the dietary manager. How about ordering what your residents want to eat, what your patients want to eat, or what the clients want to eat? What I'm talking about is a resident-directed menu where they choose foods. I know this sounds radical, but the residents choose food out of the vendor catalogs. That's real choice. Where they eat, the place. Is it a big dining room, a small dining room? Can they eat in their room in front of their televisions? Is there a dining room table where 7 or 8 residents can sit around with their caregiver and enjoy a family-style meal? Or are you still using the classic 4-top table, which, holds 4 chairs around the table and unfortunately is still a little institutionalized? And then portions, allowing people to eat what they want, when they want. Of course, the registered dietitian and the nursing staff, the medical director have to, make special considerations for certain residents who have restricted diets. But, the truth of the matter is this: we've gone way overboard on restricted diets and way overboard on diabetic diets. And I really encourage you to look up and do your own research on the liberalized diet. Quality of care. This is sort of a no-brainer. Isn't everything that we've talked about so far associated with quality of care? Here's a real strong point that I want to deliver right now. There's a huge difference between quality of care and quality of life. Quality of care means excellent nursing, the use of medications, The use and application of treatments, wound care, physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, so on and so forth. That's care. That's quality of care. Everybody should deliver excellent quality of care. That is not the same as quality of life. You could nurse me, you could PT me, and you could OT me, and guess what? I still may not want to wake up and live tomorrow unless I've got something to look forward to, unless I have great food to eat, unless the activities are so much fun that I don't want to miss one of them, even if I don't feel good. Quality of life. Those are the social things that we're talking about, the relationship-based things. Those are the adventures and the parties and the celebrations that can go on every day. That's what quality of life really means. We all have our own idea about quality of life. If I move into a facility, I've got to have wireless access, internet access. I want a plasma screen or a high-definition television. I want access to cable and movies and music. Here's my question to you. How on earth do you replace home? When I talk to healthcare professionals and they say, we try to make our facility as home-like as we possibly can. Deep in my heart, I know they are. In my mind, I'm thinking, there's no way we can. We could do as much as we possibly can, but home may never actually be home. Bringing as many comforts as we possibly can to the people that we take care of is a huge goal in person-centered care. Delivering personal, friendly, warm, and genuine care. Essential ingredients in person-centered care. And of course, something that you and I all cherish, privacy. See, your home and your bedroom provide privacy. Your bathroom provides privacy, unless you have little kids. Well, let's not get into that. But since my wife and I have had our little girl, she's a little over 3 years old now, there's no privacy anywhere. But that's not the point. The point is, how about if you had, nursing staff walking in on you and other residents wandering into your room and other patients wandering through your things and into your bathroom and so on and so forth? Or how would you like to wake up one morning and another patient's in your bed? Privacy is important. Family-centered care. Why do I bring this up? Because I believe that good person-centered care means great family-centered care. When you bring in, I hate to use the word admit, it sounds so institutionalized. Isn't this a funny thing? When you and I move and we buy a new home, we move into that home. If you and I require institutionalized care, we're admitted. You see, everything is institutionalized about the way we approach nursing homes, long-term care, hospital care. But anyway, to make a long story short, when we take someone in to provide care for them, we are essentially saying we will provide care for the whole family. So when we take on the honor of caring for a resident or a patient, we assume care of the entire family system. And that could be good at times, and that can be bad at times. Leadership, at the end of the day, is one of the most important things in person-centered care, because if you don't have good leadership, you will not have person-centered care. What kinds of leadership am I talking about? The transformative type of leadership, where your administrative staff, your administrator, DON, the department heads, work on transforming the employees from good caregivers to great caregivers. It means being other-oriented, not thinking so much about what we want, how we want to do things, but how our residents want to do things, and thinking about our staff. Servanthood leadership is a very powerful concept. The more we serve others around us, the greater leaders we will become. Leadership also involves very strong belief systems, values, and principles. In learning objective number 2, we are going to describe some changes in how care is delivered in healthcare settings, such as nursing homes, assisted living facilities, group homes, the senior care industry in general, and even in some hospitals. For example, we will be looking at things like flexible care schedules and natural waking. Here are some key ideas that we will explore. To descheduleize the facility, to deroutinize the facility, to make living and care less rigid, and to provide a more natural setting for social life and quality of life. Areas that require flexibility include the medication pass. Sometimes people don't want to get up very early in the morning to receive their AM meds. So what a lot of facilities are doing around the country is they are rewriting their orders, and the order says something like this: to pass medications upon natural rising. What that means is whenever the resident wakes up naturally and comfortably, the nursing assistants will notify nursing. Nursing will take the medications down to the patient's room. Natural waking and retiring are a part of flexibility, meal schedules like we discussed before, and even employee schedules. A lot of facilities, hospitals, nursing homes are getting real flexible in the way they schedule their staff. For instance, they are allowing 8-hour schedules, 10-hour, and 12-hour schedules. Some facilities, and this may be scary to you, it's not to me, is self-scheduling. That actually means to decentralize the scheduling obligation, and each staff member and employee schedule themselves and have to maintain their own schedule. And then, of course, the idea of self-assignment is one of my favorite concepts in person-centered care, because each employee gets to choose where they want to work in the building, and they also get to choose the residents or the patients that they want to work with, and on a consistent basis. A little more on the medication pass. Passing medications when residents are up and awake naturally is just common sense. Why do we wake people up when they don't want to get up or they're not ready to get up? Not everybody enjoys waking up early in the morning. Some people like to stay up late and sleep in. It's easy to rewrite medication orders, and the order would read meds to be given upon natural rising and at bedtime. You could even put in there and at meal times. Natural waking and retiring. This is a very common sense change. Let people sleep in. Allow them to go to bed when they want to go to bed. Allow them to wake up when they want to wake up. Here's the point. When a person moves into a facility, they should not have to conform to the facility's flow of life. The people working in the facility should adapt to that person's natural lifestyle. Meal schedules we've talked about a little bit, and of course the key word here is flexibility in the times that meals are served for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And of course, having 24-hour snacks around the clock, I think, is a very person-centered method. Employee schedules. We've talked about self-assignment, self-scheduling. 8, 10, and 12-hour shifts are now becoming common around the country. And different schedules for different employee lifestyles. Look, if you have employees who are single and young and they want to work 12 hours at a time, God bless them, let them do it. If you have older employees who have children and, pretty rough schedules outside of their employment, and they've got to pick those kids up after school and get them to soccer practice and basketball practice and so on and so forth, then adaptability is key. Let me say this too. Good person-centered care also means employee-centered care. Here's the bottom line. I know this is hard, and, I talk to thousands of people about these concepts, and I do get resistance. Throw out the old ways of care that you've learned over the past several years or decades. Erase your mind of everything you know about institutionalized care. Eliminate total institutions. Start thinking more home life, casual living, quality of life, and person-first care.
I could discuss this topic for hours and hours, but we have a limited amount of time to get through some of the most important aspects of person-centered care. I hope you can see the distinct differences between institutionalized care and person-centered care by now. Concepts such as deinstitutionalization and culture change are important to grasp, and so is the delivery of care. But person-centered care is more than the sum of its parts. It is a feeling, an attitude, and a philosophy. I tell many professionals who attend my workshops that person-centered care starts in the heart and soul. Let's continue our exploration of this revolutionary topic.
In learning objective number 3, we're going to take some time and describe innovative changes that are taking place in senior and residential living centers around the country and around the world. Some examples of these changes include using universal employees, buffet-style dining, morning and evening care, and the liberalized diet. Meals and dining. Here are just some examples that I've written about in my book and I've seen in the research that are very popular and do work. Restaurant-style dining, buffet-style dining, family-style dining, and even drive-thrus. I have seen facilities knock a hole through the wall and build a drive-through window and say every Friday they serve fish and chips in old-fashioned diner baskets with wax paper in them, or burgers and fries, or hot dogs and fries, and a Coke for $2. I guarantee you that a lot of residents and family members and staff members are going to be going through that drive-through. So yes, give it a shot, the geriatric drive-through. It sounds funny, but I bet it would be kind of cool. Try ethnic and cultural varieties in the menu. Use real dinnerware and real glassware. Tablecloths and napkins, cloth napkins should be used. And you could also try having a hostess and a wait staff in the dining room during mealtimes. How about a newspaper with breakfast, or a nice continental breakfast? Coffee, juice, Danish, the morning paper, the morning news, flexible meal times from 7 to 9 a.m. for breakfast, noon to 2 for lunch, maybe 5 to 7 for dinner. And I've always liked the idea of small kitchenette areas throughout the building, say on every unit, every wing. What would a kitchenette contain? Well, probably a small apartment-sized refrigerator, a microwave, cabinets full of, dry mixes and snacks and goodies and all kinds of things that anybody could have access to. Residents, employees, and family members. Morning care. Natural waking we've talked about, no waking up on third shift, assisting the resident calmly, waking them up nicely and gently every morning and at their own pace is important, and even offering, if the resident doesn't want to get up, breakfast in bed. Find out what each resident prefers to do in the morning. You and I all have our morning routines. I need a half a pot of coffee in the morning to get going. That's that. So if somebody offered me 1 cup in institutional life, I would say, no, leave the pot here on the table. Other examples include watching television with breakfast, reading the paper, or showering. Some people have got to take a shower before they sit down and eat. We are who we are, person-centered care. Or, what I really like, staff members sitting down and eating breakfast with the people that they're taking care of. Nighttime care. Find out what the residents' preferred bedtime routine is all about. Maybe they need a shower, a hot shower at night, or a bath. Maybe they like to watch the evening news or the 11 o'clock news. Whatever it is, it is. Make the environment cool, dark, quiet. Use the bed for sleeping. Residents, I read a study and it broke my heart. On a daily basis, the average nursing home resident spends about 16 hours on their mattress. I cannot imagine living the rest of my life like that. That's depressive to me. Beds should be used for sleeping in long-term care. Otherwise, residents won't sleep well at night. Don't put the resident back to bed if he or she cannot sleep in the middle of the night. I know that that's a knee-jerk reaction. But a lot of the medical literature is saying, you know what, if the resident is up, then keep them up. We could really reduce falls that way, by the way. Reposition residents only if it's needed. Repositioning doesn't mean to flip them over, by the way. A lot of facilities around the country are removing the overhead paging system, and that's a great idea. Nobody wants to hear phone calls and bells and whistles all day and all night. And then providing gentle assistance quietly with low light in the residents' rooms at night can really induce a good calming effect and getting them ready for bedtime. The use of employees, in particular, the universal employee, is a newer concept and one that I really like. It means that the employee is cross-trained in multiple areas. So, for an example, the STNA can be trained in laundry, housekeeping, dietary, or activities. What this means is that individual could work in any area throughout the building when it's necessary, but that one cross-trained person can run their entire neighborhood, take care of the residents on their neighborhood, clean up the environment, clean the rooms, do a deep cleaning once a week, a little bit of laundry, go down to the kitchen, pick up the casserole of lasagna, bring it back to the dining room table with your residents, sit down and eat. So cross-trained universal employees is a great idea. Universal employees can be self-assigned. They can work on their own neighborhood. They develop great, long-lasting, deep, and genuine relationships. Communication can flow much better. Quality of care can be increased. Family members will be real happy to see great caregivers on a routine basis. These universal employees can also manage themselves. The environment can become more like home. For instance, if you were taking care of 5 or 6 elderly family members in your home, what would you do? That's the same model for a universal employee on a neighborhood in a care facility. And of course, they can use kitchenettes, washers, and dryers because they'll be trained in all of those areas to do things appropriately. Liberalized diets. Boy, I tell you, this is one of the most fascinating areas. It is endorsed by the American Dietetic Association. Liberalized diets are used to maximize nutritional status and quality of life. They have the least amount of restrictions. Registered dietitians and dietary managers become even more important in implementing liberalized diets. The entire kitchen staff can really revolutionize the way they provide dietary services, quality of food, and delivery of food. In learning objective number 4, we are going to describe policies, finances, and regulations concerning person-centered care. In terms of policies, the fewer, the better. Policies are no replacement for great care and quality of life. Some policies are necessary for the med pass, for med orders, liberalized diet, and for the universal employee. But keep your policies to a minimum. In terms of finances, money is important. So many facilities actually think that person-centered care is going to cost too much, so they never research it. They're afraid of it, and they stay away from it. Do you make more money or save more money by using person-centered care? First of all, let me be clear. Person-centered care is not about saving money, and it's not about making money. But guess what? In the long run, you'll have a higher census, and you will be making more money. Person-centered care isn't meant to make or save money, but in the end, you may be very surprised at the results. I know that budgets are important. Facilities that have gone with restaurant-style dining, person-centered dining services have actually remained at their budget or have come in slightly below their budget, believe it or not. The resident-directed menu is something to really research in terms of finances and person-centered care. Staff eating with residents shouldn't cost more because, believe it or not, lots of care facilities throw 50% of the food out in the trash every day. So we could eliminate food waste. We could save a lot of money on supplements. If you improve the quality of food, a lot of people won't need or want supplements. And finally, we can actually save on medications as well. You know, there's a joke that I use at my seminars. What would you rather have, Prozac or deep fried chicken? Take your Prozac first. We don't want you to stay off of it. But you know what? I'd rather have deep fried chicken too. Less employee turnover may be one of the results that you find with person-centered care, and more employee retention. You may have the result of a higher census and ultimately happier residents, staff, and family members. What about the regulations? OBRA of 1987. Let me put it to you this way. The regulations actually support person-centered care. We may have misinterpreted, overinterpreted, or really just made a mess out of understanding our own guidelines and regulations. OBRA supports person-centered care. Look at some of the regulations. Choice over schedules. Choice over activities. Aren't those in the regulations? Accommodating environment. Resident rights. The refusal of treatment. And the highest quality of life and care. These are all built into our regulations, and they're all person-centered. Now, we're going to end on the benefits of person-centered care. After using it for a while, you'll see things change, I guarantee you. And it's going to take a year or two to implement most of what we've talked about. You will see choice, autonomy, individuality, personal growth, dignity. All of these will improve. Life satisfaction, even health outcomes. A greater environment that endorses the idea of home, and lots of comforts. You should see these and many more benefits with person-centered care. What other things will you find? Purpose will increase. The sense of purpose in your patients and your residents. Meaning in their lives. Privacy. Better nutrition. Better quality of living. Happier employees. You will see job satisfaction increase. Retention. Relationships will build. Reduce stress and empowerment of employees can all be benefits for your staff.
Person-centered care has taken quite a while to evolve in the United States and around the world in hospitals and senior living centers. It is a call for us to go back to some of the more simple things in healthcare, like tender, loving care. People are more than illnesses in need of medical care. They are living, breathing, social individuals and personalities. There is certainly a lot more to learn about this topic than we've covered in these 4 learning objectives, and we've only touched lightly on this topic. There are so many more things to learn about person-centered care. Please continue to explore it for yourself and share your knowledge with others around you. Until next time, I'm Dr. Jim Collins. Thank you so much for spending time with me on Collins Learning.